What's up guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to talk about the best attackers and best defenders for this current BG meta that we have, which is Mixmaster and Safeguard. And then the other node where if you have a shock or incinerate on the opponent, you reduce their evade ability accuracy. So, this is going to be after me playing for about 5 hours of this meta. So I think I have like some, decent experience. So let's sort this through the alphabet. So first thing we're going to do is talk about the best attackers and then the best defenders, and then afterwards I'm going to mention some other decent options you can use. So from the science class, 3 options right here I think are the best ones. First one being Spider Ham, I think is like, amazing. And then there is Silk for 2 reasons. She has the slow, if she's awakened, she has the slow and the heavy attack, and this is like really good. And also she has another big burst damage on the special too. So that's, a red number which bypasses the safeguard. So that's a very decent option there. And then lastly, Spot is just awesome, man, because you can easily mix your combos from Mixmaster because you just phase and, most of his damage comes from the red numbers anyways. So Spot is just amazing for that. Now let's move on to the skill class. Skill class just has insane attackers. Like, first is Kate Bishop. You get a cold snap, no evades, and it just does so much damage. It's insane. Then you have Crossbones. Crossbones can do like 35-second fights. He's so fast. If you get some Furies, you just ignore Mixmaster, and Safeguard is absolutely crazy. And then you have Silver Sable. So Silver Sable with a heavy attack against Science Champions, you get that Disorient, which is 100%, so that ignores everything. Both nodes, Safeguard and Mixmaster. And if that doesn't work, if you fight like, let's say, someone else, rather than Science, where your Disorient is not 100%, you apply Shocks. And if you apply Shocks, that means you ignore the Evade, and you kind of bypass the Safeguard. So Silver Sable is actually very nice. I wish I had her for this meta. Falcon is also amazing, because he ramps up for Mixmaster. High Sig Falcon is actually really fast in this meta. He counters like both nodes. Ability accuracy is like the best thing you can bring in this meta. And then she is very new, but Okoye is amazing. She applies shocks and bleeds, ignores the evade thanks to the shocks, and just does so much dot damage for Safeguard. And then 2 more champions, Black Panther Civil War is just absolutely insane. Even if they're not bleed immune, you can just destroy them. Or even if they are bleeding, you can just destroy them with the burst damage. And then lastly, we have Black Widow Deadly Origin, which is a 7-star champion now too. And that means if you apply a shock on the opponent, they are not going to evade. And she's got really good burst damage on the special too. Energy damage while striking the opponent when they're shocked. So yeah, this skill class, man, it's just, it's too good, honestly, too good. Now, moving on to the best mutant champions, we have Archangel, amazing if they're not bleed or poison immune, he just does his thing. Mr. Sinister is awesome here too, because he's got the, where is he? He's got the transfer on those degens. That means you can just basically bypass Safeguard. Most of his damage comes from that. And then obviously, Mr. Onslaught is awesome for pretty much anyone, because no one is immune to his degens or neuroshocks. And yeah, you just have to play around the Mixmaster, but it's not that big of a deal for Onslaught. You just do heavy attacks for the most part. Now, moving on to the tech class. Best ones, we have Shuri. 1 shock and the opponent is not going to evade. Amazing. Penny is also very nice. The only thing you have to do is just play around the evade. There she is. And then you just go for a special 1, special 2. The opponent is most likely going to die. And then we also have Guardian. So Guardian is a nuke, man. He's such a big nuke. Definitely a champion that I wanted to have if I had him ranked up. I wanted to have it in my deck. And then we have this guy. This guy is actually really solid. He doesn't counter the evade, but he does have, when he crits, he does some damage here. Like when he would land a critical hit, you inflict an instant incinerate. And against mutants, it's plasma. And then his debuffs stick for a lot, incinerate and poison. So he's very solid for this meta too. Then moving on to the Cosmic class, we have Scream. So Scream, I can't find her. So Scream is actually kind of weird. You cannot do a full light ending combo to get extra madness, but she only is going to miss like the 8% I think in the specials here it says she gets like 8% more burst potency for each madness. That doesn't matter too much. I thought that mattered too, like a lot, but it doesn't. The thing that matters the most is the debuffs you have on the opponent when you throw the special 2. So Scream is actually surprisingly very, very nice. You also have Medusa, of course, you know, with the 1 armor shatter. You have the true accuracy that cannot evade, get some bleeds in the special 2, and she's always going to be hitting the cap as well. And then someone that surprised me is Beta Ray Bill. He kind of like destroys this meta. If you go for a special 2 and like a special 1, some champions will die from one special 1, and if they don't die from one special 1, they definitely die from the second one. And he's got that energize. He's kind of like getting to that fast. So yeah, now that you actually, you know, can afford to do a 50-second fight in this meta because no one is like really too fast, this guy is actually legit. And then moving on to the last best option here is Hyperion. You know, Hyperion has got the Incinerates. You put 1 Incinerate, they cannot evade. And he's doing, with the special 1 spam, he does a lot of damage for sure. Especially if you have a good Gamora relic. And then moving on to the Mystic, the best Mystics, we have probably the best Mystic right here is Kushala. Just amazing, dude. She just does so much damage. Another really good option is Shatra because no one is immune to her damage. You can even do damage against someone that purifies. Like you don't actually count on debuffs. So she does do very, very, very well. And then lastly, we have Longshot. He is very rare as a 7-star, but even the 6-star can actually do some really good work with his special 2 and special 1s. Now let's move on to the best defenders here from each class. So we have Thing, Photon, Thing, and Piggy. So Piggy, you know, he's kind of annoying if he evades. He just places your porkers. Thing is kind of tough to manage his rock stacks because you can't hit the block more than twice unless you bypass the evade. And then Photon is just being Photon. We know why she is annoying. Now, the skilled champions are the most annoying here. So we have Korg. You know, Korg is just very annoying when you can't really, you know, do full lightning combos to actually get rid of his rock stacks. He's super tanky this meta too. He's also immune to bleed and shock. Then we have Killmonger. Killmonger, you know, he's tough because some people are going to use, you know, debuff champions to deal damage. And this guy, if you put debuffs on him, he gets a lot of power. So he's dangerous. Then we have Bullseye. Obviously, Bullseye is just amazing. Shield, another reason why she's annoying is because, you know, Cleanse. You can't really debuff her too much. She has a lot of Cleanse. And then Maulman. Maulman is same reason for Shield. And also, you can't really intercept him. Or you have to intercept him. You can't really rely on stuns to be able to get your combos in. Now, moving on to the best mutants. We have NTW, so she is, I actually have to find her. She is very annoying because you can't parry her. And you know, if you can't parry the opponent, you can do double light and then medium light. In this case, you can't do it. You have to like either time your light attacks or you have to just let them evade and get another combo. So champions you cannot stun are going to be the hardest ones. So NTW is pretty annoying in this meta. Onslaught, obviously you can't really, where is Onslaught? You can't really stun him either. And then we have Bishop. So Bishop is kind of annoying because you can't really put 3 debuffs on him. Shock, Bleed, or Incinerate. So that's 2 debuffs. Shock and Incinerate. So that means you cannot use champions like that to actually bypass his the Mixmaster node on him. So pretty annoying. And then Domino is obviously a bit of a pain to deal with as well, as always. Moving on to the best tech champions. We have Mr. Sentinel. He is super, super tanky. You can't even use like Medusa or Scream to actually deal with him. He's pretty tough to fight. Super, super tanky. Then we also have Red Skull. Red Skull basically stun immune. Yeah, there he is. Basically stun immune, so you can't really do much. Same thing with Negasonic Teenage. Arcade is actually so annoying to fight now. Like, he's top tier tech defender. And then also we have Shocker. Where's Shocker? Shocker basically stun immune too. He is a bit of a pain to fight. And then Shooty, same reason because, you know, non-contact, you can't really parry. And that is always tough. Now we have like the 3 best cosmic defenders probably of all time, not just this meta. Serpent, obviously. We have Deathless Thanos, yeah, of course, and then Maestro. I mean, those 3 are just insane. They are making the fight last longer with the safeguard, so you know, the more you have to fight them, the harder it gets. So Serpent ramps up, Maestro is going to deal some radiation damage to you, and Thanos is just never going to die with his protection. Like, it's really annoying. And then moving on to the best mystics, we have Enchantress, obviously, really tough. Mordo, because if he does his evade with Mixmaster, he actually punishes you, so he can combo you. Really tough. I wish I had some Mordo. And then Kindred. Same thing because of Maestro, you know, if the fight lasts too long, I'm trying to find Kindred. If the fight lasts too long, there's a higher chance for you to get degen, so that is kind of a pain. And he's also like immune to like Incinerate too, and Poison, so that's 2 debuffs that he's immune to. So that is it for the best options for attack and defense. Now we're going to talk about some other good options you can bring for attack per class. So for the science class, we have Titania is also a really good option. With a special threat, she has Disorient, so she can kind of bypass it. Human Torch is also a very decent option. Scorpion is a pretty good option too, because you get the shock, you can basically ignore the evade. Quicksilver is a nice one if you had a 7-star, especially. Like, most of his damage comes from red numbers anyway, so that's perfect. He also has the slow for the evade. Joe Fixit is pretty solid, you know, with he's got his bleeds. Definitely does some good work. Then we have Moondragon. Moondragon, if you get to 20 of those charges she has, she ignores evade, and on the special 2 she has some nice red numbers. I actually used her my rank 3. She was doing pretty solid. Shield is nice, especially if you got deep wounds, does some really nice melee damage. Masakure, I was going to mention him as the top option, but right now he's bugged. His last hit of the special 2 is actually not bypassing safeguard. Really annoying. So if you time a special 1 disorient with the special 2, if you hit the block while they have the disorient up, you're going to bypass safeguard with your first hit. You should have bypassed it with the second hit too, but it's bugged right now. And then lastly, Black Cat. I think Black Cat is just really solid. Really, the reason I didn't put her as higher as the best is because she has bleeds, and there's a lot of bleed immune champions. And then Nick Fury as well. Same reason, he's really strong, but bleeds. Valkyrie, I believe, can bypass safeguard, but she's not that good. She's probably going to be a bit tough to like ramp up. And then lastly, Mole Man, probably really solid too. Moving on to mutants, some other mutants you can use. We have Negasonic, which does some really nice Incinerate damage. Iceman is solid, but he's not too great because he's only a 6-star, but he does counter the evade and he's got some red numbers. Deadpool X-Force, really solid too. No one is basically immune to him, so that's really nice. Weapon X is a solid option too. Red Magneto is kind of nice, especially if you have the Mastery and go for special 3. You can probably like safely bypass Safeguard, which is really, really strong for battle champions. And then we have Domino. You might get lucky with those crit bleeds. And then Omega Red, technically a good option too. Might be a bit tough to stay close to the opponent though, but I feel like I should mention him. Now for the tech class, Prowler is a really good option if you know how to use him. If you've got a high sig one. Whereas Ant-Man Future, honestly, very, very nice. Fam, pretty solid too. I2 might be a little bit tough to use, but he's probably okay, I would say. He's also got some shocks, so you can kind of ignore the evade. And then there's Warlock, honestly amazing. Even if the opponent is bleeding, he just does so much, you know, degen damage. And then there's Red Skull with his shocks. And then after Red Skull, we have also Sentinel. He can use his shock and then ramp with hitting the opponent into the block. Because with their shock, they cannot evade, so that's really nice. Nimrod is also pretty solid too. For another 2 good options, we have Arcade, maybe if you get like a high sig one. And then also Ironheart. Ironheart, I would only use her if she is like high sig to do more damage with your debuffs. Cosmics, moving on to some others you can use. You can also use Gallon, because his Harvest bypasses Safeguard. I'm trying to find him, I can't find him. But yeah, Gallons, he bypasses, there he is. The Safeguard. Vox is really solid too. I used him once. Thanos is okay because Deathless Thanos, because you can kind of ignore the opponent's evade with your debuff. I don't remember the name, but he's getting, if you block, I think the last hit of their special, or if you use your Unstoppable while blocking, he places a debuff that basically doesn't let the opponent evade. The Panic debuff, I believe. No, yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's the one. So that's what he can do. She's okay, But honestly, I would probably only use it for defense. Thanos. And then Null is actually kind of solid too with his degens. Got some red numbers as well. And then we have Venom. Venom is really nice because, you know, just does a lot of bleed damage. But if the opponent is bleeding immune, make sure to not use her. And then lastly, Odin. He's got a True Check and a special one. Really good option too. He's in my deck right now. So for the Mystics, we have Hood. I think Hood is a nice option, especially if you have a 7-star. Definitely a very good option. You just bypass the safeguard with his bullets. Werewolf is really solid too. Only if you have like a high rank though, I would use him. Spiral, if you spam special ones, she is okay. She's not too great, but she's decent. Tiger is kind of tough to use. I feel like I should mention her though, because most of your damage is red, but she's tough to use. I personally took her out of my deck. She's pretty tough to use. Ebony Maw is okay. Diablo is okay. And then Purgatory is okay. So that is going to be for the attackers. Some others you can use. And now let's quickly mention some decent options for defense. So Scorpion, if he evades, he's going to punish you, a bit of a problem. Sandman, the only reason I'm mentioning him is because he has lots of immunities, bleed, poison, and shock. So it might be some, you know, tough to actually use debuffs against him to bypass it. Then we also have Jessica. I mean, Jessica is just really a big pain. Count Nefaria because he's got some immunities and also has resistance on a lot of things. And Spot is decent because he also, you know, prolongs the fight thanks to safeguard and he might go untouchable. There's a high chance he does. Now for the skill class defenders, some other solid options. High Sig Crossbones, really annoying because he shrugs off. Kingpin, same thing, he shrugs off. Zemo, I'm trying to find Zemo. Zemo is actually a very annoying option because if you apply some debuffs on him, he is going to root you, and that is a problem. I actually can't find him, but anyways, you know who Zemo is. And yeah, then we also have obviously Nick Fury. So moving on to the mutants really quickly, we have Dust, lots of immunities, and if you trigger some of them, she's gonna put some sand on you, which is not really fun. And then Havoc, same thing. You can't really apply some debuffs to him like Incinerate or Shock, or you're gonna get wrecked. Iceman might deal some chip damage to you, also has immunities, and Emma because of the immunities as well. So tech champions, we have Warlock, has a lot of immunities too, and if you fight him for too long, you're gonna get infected and stuff like that. Fam is okay because he does have like, he does shrug off a little bit, he can glance. I wouldn't see him as like a great defender, but he's like okay. Because he's also 6, so that's why he's not too great. Cosmic, we have Nova, might be tough to parry him. So it might be a bit annoying. Deathless King Groot, because he might, you know, shrug off some of your debuffs and stuff like that. And then Medusa. I think Medusa is actually a really solid option because you can't use too many Mystics. And if you don't use a Mystic against her, she's just going to mess you up with your auto block. And then lastly, for the Mystic class, another one you can use that I didn't mention at the best is Mephisto. Because, you know, as a 6-star, I don't think I should mention anyone being the best because 6-stars are kind of falling off now. But yeah, man, that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to separate this into 2 parts. It's going to be the best attackers, the best defenders, and then it's going to be some other decent options you can use both offensively and defensively. And hopefully this is going to help you to make a good deck for this meta. So yeah, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.